Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jimmy, his name is Frank, and we love talking to each other. Isn't that right, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, as promised, Frank and I are going to be getting into a couple of rumors that were recently released and pertaining to WrestleMania 32. You're going to see that as a constant on the show the next couple months because obviously WrestleMania 32 is a very big deal. It's going to possibly be the biggest crowd in the history of WrestleMania, which that would set a record, correct, Frank?
Oh, absolutely.
And how important...
Well, the WrestleMania record is
93,000
plus. I don't know if that's the indoor record.
It is.
Okay.
It's the indoor attendance record.
That's also the indoor record?
That's the indoor attendance record.
Okay. Well, 100,000 will break anything, so...
Well, I can tell you right now, I've said it before, they want that 100,000, they got to put the thinking caps on and put their best foot forward. Because fans are not going to...
I think that's a lock, you know.
Yeah, but the fans are not going to show up to watch El Torito versus Hornswoggle in the main event.
Oh, of course not.
That's the point I try to make, and whatever. Based on what we've heard is that there was a meeting held that Vince was basically stressing the importance of WrestleMania 32 and breaking the attendance record. And as of this moment, and I'm crediting this to my friend Christian. Thank you so much for sending this to me. He sent it to me while I was just finishing up my studying for the day. As everyone knows, that's all I do is work and study. And now plan a wedding. It's a lot of work. For anyone who isn't engaged or is planning to get engaged, you have a long road ahead of you, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. It is totally worth it.
Yes.
The rumor is that Vince wants to do the Undertaker versus Sting match, and Frank, I have my fingers, my toes, and my fucking intestines crossed that they're gonna fucking do this match.
Well, if he wants it to happen, then it's gonna happen.
Because it's a match that I know a lot of fans want to see. It's a match I know Sting has wanted for years. I can't think of a better way for the Undertaker to hang it up. What else would he do to hang up his career, other than in the biggest dream match of all time?
Listen, it doesn't have to be the all-time best match.
No, I'm not looking for fucking AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. I just want to see these two. I want to see them on opposite ends of the ring and then kick the shit out of each other. Yeah, Frank and I are not looking for a technical wrestling clinic like Savage and Steamboat. I mean, come on now. Let's be realistic here.
So you could do 5 minutes between the entrances, both of the entrances, the introductions, and then 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes bell to bell. That's all we need.
10, 11 minutes. They each do their spots.
And you know what's funny, Frank?
Kickouts.
You want to know what's funny, Frank? They'll end up having a really good match. That's the funny thing. They'll end up having a very good match.
Unless somebody gets hurt, how can you fuck it up?
You can't. You can't fuck it up. That's what I'm saying. And honestly, I know this is probably thinking a little too far because, as some people like to say, you're not in the business. You know what I would do with that match? I would have, before the video package, this is what you do. You leave, and at the beginning of the show, you show empty seats around the front row area. And you say those seats have been reserved by some WWE legends and Hall of Famers because they want to see the dream match and want to pay homage to The Undertaker on the evening of his retirement. Wouldn't that be believable, that legends would come to say goodbye to him?
You could do anything.
But think about this, and before the match, you have Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake, Jimmy Snuka, Bret Hart, Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan. You bring out as many legends as you possibly can, give them a nice payday or whatever, and you have them sit and watch. Ric Flair is one of those people that should be out there because Flair helped make Sting. And Flair had one of the best matches the Streak ever had, which was at WrestleMania 18. Still holds up to this day as one of my favorite no-holds-barred matches of all time, because Flair and Taker kicked the fuck out of each other. But that's what I would do. Before the video package, you show the legends filing in, and they're sitting and they're talking like, oh, I can't wait to see this.
You can even have them support, half of them support the Undertaker, half of them support.
Yeah, you could do that. And I even mentioned this to my sister Nicole. Hey, kid, love you. They should do a panel, like the Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, and this is the panel you do. Very specific men: Hogan, Foley, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels. And I'll explain why. Hogan helped make The Undertaker. Survivor Series 1991. Undertaker got 1 year into his contract, beat Hulk Hogan. Hogan didn't have to say no. Hogan didn't have to say yes, but he did. Undertaker was a main eventer from that point forward. Never challenged for a mid-card title, albeit the hardcore title for a cup of coffee. And he's wrestled Sting in arguably the biggest match in the history of WCW. That's one. Mick Foley has wrestled The Undertaker. Has had more victories over The Undertaker than anybody. But Mick Foley was made by Sting. And he was never able to beat Sting. So you have Hogan turn around and say, I've wrestled both guys, but The Undertaker just has a different air about him, and I don't know if Sting can handle that. Then you have Foley turn around and say, I've beaten The Undertaker, but I've never beaten Sting. So that says a lot about Sting. Then you have Ric Flair turn around and say, I wrestled The Undertaker when I thought I was at my lowest, and he brought out the best in me. But when I wrestled Sting for the first time on the Clash of Champions, I knew right then and there he was a star, and he was always a thorn in my side. So Undertaker doesn't know what he's in for. Then you have Shawn Michaels. Shawn's never wrestled Sting, but both of them have walked similar paths in terms of their faith. Shawn's wrestled The Undertaker. He's beaten The Undertaker, and he was retired by The Undertaker. So what Shawn could turn around and say is, Sting has one thing going for him, other than the stature he's created for himself, and that's his faith.
Listen, they can make a fucking DVD out of this match.
I would pay top dollar for that, but do you see what I'm saying? The week before Mania, you do that panel, and I think it'd be phenomenal.
Well, they might not have time to promote it all,
Well, I guess not, but I mean, for a 3-hour fucking Raw, you could dedicate a 20-minute segment to the biggest dream match of all.
You could do it, in the weeks leading up to it.
That's what I'm saying. The weeks leading up, you do that one panel with those 4 legends. But at the event of WrestleMania, you have all the legends file into the front row to watch this match. Because number one, it's a dream match that people thought they'd never see, and number two, it's The Undertaker's farewell.
And it could be Sting's farewell too.
Honestly, if I had my way, they would both retire in that match. And I'd bust out as many legends possible from WCW. I'd have Magnum T.
Next year, 2016. These guys are up in age. So,
yes, they are. So that's got to be it. And honestly, from the WCW side, I'd bring Scott Hall. I'd bring Kevin Nash. I'd bring out Magnum TA. I'd bring out Mick Foley. I mean, like I said, to me, in a perfect world, that's how it would go. And honestly, I don't give a shit who wins. I don't care.
I would like to see Sting appear a couple of times this year,
So would I. I would like to see Sting wrestle at SummerSlam and get a win. So that way, when he loses to The Undertaker, it's not, oh, Sting came back and lost every match. See, now,
right.
Sting...
He needs one win at least,
Absolutely. And if that one win is at the expense of The Undertaker, I'm fine with it. When did you ever think you'd ever hear me say that, Frank?
No, you can't have The Undertaker lose his last match.
He isn't going to lose his last match, but what I am saying is if Sting were to win, I would I would be fine with it. Totally fine with it. But moving on, another match that's rumored is The Rock versus Triple H. Now, I really don't have a problem with this match, as long as it doesn't go on last.
No, but it'll probably be the most promoted match probably out of the whole card.
Which really shouldn't be the case because The Rock promotes himself. The Rock...
Yeah, but you got The Rock involved, you're going to have Ronda Rousey involved.
No, they're not going to get Ronda Rousey. Dana White is never going to let that woman anywhere near WrestleMania again. That was a one-off deal.
No, maybe not to wrestle a match, but she could definitely be in The Rock's corner.
See, but I don't know if that's going to be allowed to happen. But if it does, hey, great. Bring it in. More eyeballs on the product.
Yeah.
Because it's not like somebody else from the roster would be in The Rock's corner. At least with Ronda Rousey would make sense.
I mean, I think it's a done deal. They promoted it last year, and they did the promo for it at WrestleMania 31.
And honestly, you could build that match just on that encounter alone. Plus, the history between The Rock and Triple H is timeless. They have one of the best rivalries of all time, in my opinion.
Yep. Definitely.
Let me see. What else is rumored? Jesus Christ. I know I should know this. Apparently, they're looking to do John Cena versus Hulk Hogan.
That's not going to happen.
I hope not. Because I don't want to see Hulk get hurt. Much as I don't like the dude, I don't want to see him get hurt.
That would be a horrible match.
It would be a horrible match. And the scary part is Cena would carry it. Not a good thing.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it.
I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, you could have Hulk Hogan
be in Cena's corner. Be in Cena's corner or something.
But that would only have to be against a major heel, you know?
And there are no... I don't know.
I'm telling you, I think it's going to be... I see Cena giving the belt to somebody at WrestleMania.
I hope he doesn't get the belt, period. He's had his belt 15 times. Go away. You had your time. Get lost. That's basically all the rumors that I got. I have no idea what the fuck they're going to do with Brock. If by some miracle Bryan's able to come back, I don't know what the fuck they would do with him.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. You got to put Brock in there. Brock's money. He's got to face somebody.
I already know who I'd put him up against. If I had my way, I'd put him in there with Kevin Owens.
Yeah, maybe you do that.
And honestly, you give the fans the shock. And this is how the shock goes. Brock fucking suplexes Kevin all over the place. Kevin Owens is feeling something he never felt before. He's getting manhandled. He's never been manhandled before. And little by little, he tries to pick away at the top turnbuckle. He does that whole match. But only at the very end. When Brock is charging him. After he kicks out of the pop-up powerbomb, after Owens kicks out of at least one F5. That's it. One. We're not going to overdo it with the finishers here. Brock charges, hits his head on the top turnbuckle that is exposed. Turns around, and he eats a package pile driver, and Owens gets the win. Can you imagine the shock on the face of Paul Heyman and how that would travel throughout the crowd? That Brock finally got beat?
Listen, you could go 100 different directions, you know.
Oh, of course you could. I'm just giving one example. That's all. You don't have to do that one. But I'm just saying that's one example. You know, Kevin Owens doesn't beat him clean, but Kevin Owens is the first one to pin him since Triple H.
I see them doing it up. It could probably do a Kevin Owens Finn Balor match at WrestleMania.
Honestly, if Kevin Owens isn't going to fight Brock, the ideal.
I think if they put Brock in there, it's going to be against a real big name. You know, like.
Well, the thing is, you don't want to waste Brock on guys that he's already fought. That's the only thing. You know, you want to elevate other guys. That's the point of guys with that name recognition. That's why I felt Bray Wyatt should have beat Taker. That's why I felt Punk should have beat Rock. You want to increase the value of the guys you have, not the guys that are leaving. But that's just me. I'm all about the future, not the past. I don't know who you put Brock in there with if you're not going to put him in there with Kevin Owens, but if you're going to put Kevin Owens in there with anyone that isn't Brock Lesnar, how is it not Sami Zayn?
Yeah. It just...
Can you imagine Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens on a WrestleMania scale? They would steal the show.
But like I said, for a match like that, don't get your hopes up too much, because they probably won't promote it as much as the other matches.
But they won't need... Yeah, but see, the thing is this, as long as they're on the WrestleMania card, who cares? People are going to see it anyway.
Yeah, but I'm saying they'll probably get 10 minutes to you gotta really...
Listen, Triple H has dedicated a lot of time to them on NXT. If their feud spills over into the main roster, really, they ain't only getting a few minutes. Trust me.
This is going to be their first WrestleMania, so they'll have plenty of WrestleManias to headline. Trust me.
Oh, I hope so. I would love to see those two headline for the belt, because you're taking one of the biggest feuds that pro wrestling has seen in years, which is, for people that don't know, Sami Zayn, a.k.a. El Generico, versus Kevin Owens, a.k.a. Kevin Steen. Those guys had a blood feud. I
could see them doing that WrestleMania 33, 34, something like that.
What, for the title?
Something, yeah. Those guys are going to be, they're the future. They're going to be the main event.
Let me ask you this. You think Finn Balor ever sniffs the main event of WrestleMania?
Of course he does.
I hope so.
As long as he keeps being booked, he's too theatrical, and he's got the skill. He's got a good look. You know.
I can tell you right now, Frank, I want that NXT championship. Now that
I don't know how they're going to book him as a heel or a face.
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm scared when McMahon and Kevin Dunn get their grubby fucking paws on him.
Yeah, because if you're going to come out with the demon is associated with evil.
Who cares?
I don't know.
I know what you're saying, but see, now with him, I would only bust out that fucking demon character for the Big Four. That's it. You only see that demon come out on special occasions. If it happens all the time, it's not special no more. That's why when he does put the body paint on, I'm glued to my fucking TV set. I set my alarm on the porch.
I think that he needs to do that on every pay-per-view.
I wouldn't say every pay-per-view. And the reason I say that is because if he does it 12 times a year, it isn't as special. He does it 4 times a year, it means something. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Frank?
Yeah, but it's a good gimmick. So
listen, I understand. I just don't want to see it get run into the ground.
It won't. They could change up the color. They could change up the
design. Yeah, Finn Balor's a guy I'm very high on. Listen, I set my alarm on July 4th for 5 in the morning because I knew I had to go to work, but I didn't want to miss a single bit of the show. And when I was at work, they allowed me to prop up my phone while I was sorting all my stuff, and I was able to watch the match between Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. Mm-hmm. And even my manager walked into the fucking room and was looking, and she was like, "Who's that guy in the body paint?" I'm like, "Oh, he's a new guy. You don't know him." And I had to explain who Finn Balor was. And then I showed her a couple of pictures of him from Google, and she was like, "Wow, he looks great." Listen, he's going to be... What I like about him is that he's going to be one of those guys that resonates with the casual viewer and with the diehard fan. And honestly, that's who should be the face of the company. Not just someone who's for the casual fans. Someone that's for everybody.
He will be.
No, but that's my whole point. It should be someone who is universally over. Not just over with a quarter of the audience.
Listen, maybe he becomes the savior, you know?
Oh, listen. Being saved by a demon, wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah, I'm just saying, we haven't had that next breakout crossover star since The Rock. You know, maybe Daniel Bryan, but he didn't last too long. Who's that next guy gonna be? We're built for that guy.
Well, I can tell you this: if Bryan didn't get hurt, it's possible, but I don't think they were ever going to get behind him 100% in the booking. Now, that's a question I have for you, Frank, because, ladies and gentlemen, starting tonight, Frank and I are going to be taking questions from anyone on any of the wrestling pages that we're on. You can Facebook message me or text me questions, and Frank and I will answer them here on the air. There's no limit. Ask as many as you want. I had somebody mention to me today that he felt that WWE was 100% machine-wise behind CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Frank, do you believe that to be the case?
Not 100%.
What makes you say that?
Well, in CM Punk's case, he was wrestling mainly in the mid-card.
According to them, it didn't matter. All that matters is that he had the belt.
I don't know.
Well, I wanted your opinion on it, Frank. I want your opinion because I agree with you. Because I happen to think that CM Punk, who I dislike as a person, I think he's an asshole. I met him. I paid a ticket to meet him. It's not like I rushed up to him in the middle of fucking nowhere and acted like a douchebag. He's a total prick. I'll be the first one to admit it. Even with no sufficient provocation. Don't let any of his friends or his supporters fool you. He is a prick for no reason. Just
he doesn't like it, you know. Maybe towards the end, he didn't really like the idea of all that shit, you know.
Well, then he shouldn't have gotten the business. But yeah.
Maybe WWE fucking made him hate the business.
I think that's what ended up happening. WWE made him hate the business.
Back to that question, yeah, Punk. That was very suspicious of him turning heel after being arguably, without a doubt, the most popular guy during his title run. That's something I pointed out several times. That, you know, it made no sense for him to turn heel when, number one, he was outselling Cena in merchandise. He was the hottest commodity in the business. He was in the middle of one of the title reigns that you don't see that often. And then, sure enough, right, you know, you don't want to trust all the rumors, but maybe, you know, something politically happened backstage.
Absolutely, I have no doubt. And then of course, CM Punk confirms in his, you know, podcast with Colt Cabana, The Art of Wrestling, which I suggest everyone check out. It's a really good podcast. Colt is actually pretty damn cool. I met him too. Nice guy. Unlike his friend who's a total dick. Yeah, even Punk confirmed, you know, he didn't want to fucking turn heel. He didn't want to fucking turn heel.
It was made probably when they were going to get The Rock to wrestle at WrestleMania. Once the decision was made to have Rock and Cena at WrestleMania, that was it for Punk.
Which is a shame, because Punk should have been included in the mix. But, you know, and then...
His run ended after Royal Rumble.
His run ended with after beating everybody that they put him in there with, it ended with an elbow. Think about that.
And Brian, I don't know, who knows? We already saw some bad signs after he won at WrestleMania. Right after WrestleMania, they pop him into a feud with Kane. Ugh.
Daniel Bryan never had the WWE 100% behind him, and anyone who says differently can kiss my ass. I don't care. If they were 100% behind him when they saw that he was getting too popular, why would they make him join the Wyatt family? And the proof of it is...
Because they were trying to turn him heel. Don't you see the pattern? Every time somebody gets popular, they try to turn him heel. But
Frank, why would you think that? What are you, an internet fan?
Maybe.
It's so fucking retarded. We actually get shit like that.
and that failed so horribly.
It did. And you know what the proof of it is? How quickly they turned him back.
Yeah.
After the Michigan State video. After the Michigan State video. When all the fans in that basketball game were chanting yes. That's when they realized, oh, ding dong, dub shits, we shouldn't have turned them. Idiots. And then, of course, you get to the Royal Rumble, which you were in my house for, which, to me, the Royal Rumble of 2014 is going to go down as one of the worst events in the history of the business. And the only good thing about that show was Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt. That match was fucking incredible. But the rest of the show, garbage. The WWE title match was garbage because it was Cena versus Orton. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I actually did the math. That was the 18th time those two fought each other for the title.
Oh, my God.
Frank.
On pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view. 18 fucking times.
That's a year and a half worth of pay-per-views.
Are you fucking kidding? And then you wonder why we bitch and moan because we're sick of the same shit. And then what do they do in the Royal Rumble? What do they do, Frank? They bring back Dave Bautista. All due respect, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't care what anyone says. That's what Dave is. But they bring him back. They have him win the Rumble, and they don't even put their most popular guy in the fucking match.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that turned out, you know.
But the point of the matter is, it's not a matter of complaining about that, because things worked out. It's an indictment on their decision-making that somebody with power in that company thought that was a good idea. Take Daniel Bryan out of WrestleMania 30, and what kind of a show do you have?
Oh, I agree. That was his WrestleMania.
No, but without him, would that WrestleMania have been anything other than the biggest disappointment?
It might have been the worst. It probably would have went down as the worst WrestleMania of all time.
Now, how could that be possible if Daniel Bryan isn't that good?
Because the story ran for him a year for him, and the conclusion happened, the payoff happened at WrestleMania, and that worked. You know, everybody wanted to see it. That was it.
And
that's all the people wanted to see. They wanted to see the conclusion to the angle at WrestleMania.
And the terrible thing is, like you said, if the WWE had their way, SummerSlam would have been his moment, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
Frank has said that on our show many times.
Listen, it's true. I forgot who said it. If you go over without the WWE, that's it. You're done. You know.
And that's what CM Punk and Daniel Bryan did. They got over without the machine behind them, and that's why people like myself, who hate that son of a bitch.
You know who said that? Taz said that on his podcast. He said when he came out for his debut at MSG, he got that huge pop. He said, oh my God, he was happy, but he knew it was over for him because once you get a big pop that the WWE doesn't create, it's over.
Now, I challenge anyone who watches this video to explain to myself or to Frank, why does that happen? Why is it that because you get popular without the machine behind you, that rather than, I don't know, protecting that investment and making money off of it, they go out of their way to destroy it?
Yeah, listen, now you got that right straight from a guy, Taz, who's in the business, and this is what, 2001?
2015. Oh yeah, he debuted in 2000.
Well, so that's WWE's way of working forever. You know, it's if they're not putting you over, if they're not making you, then they're gonna destroy you. You know, they don't want you getting over without them.
But why? When they could make money off of it and profit from it.
I don't know, Jim. I don't know. That's from his words. You can go back and listen. He said, "I knew what I was doing. Once I heard that huge pop, he goes, I knew what I was doing after the match." And then, he's right. Then in the following weeks, first he beat Kurt Angle, right? He choked him out. Then it didn't count. It was illegal. It was an illegal chokehold. He never gave up.
And Taz ended up going nowhere.
Yeah, and you could see in the following weeks they already started to tear him down.
And Taz was my favorite guy from ECW.
Yeah, so I'm saying if anybody out there think that shit doesn't happen, it does happen.
No, people try to turn around and say, oh, the WWE doesn't go out of the way to destroy any talents. It just happens.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
Exactly. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this segment with Frank and I. And Frank and I will be back with our final segment.